Good. All right. Well, since I prayed, I think we can just directly delve into our presentation this afternoon. Thank you again for having me here this afternoon, praising God that He gives this privilege to a very insignificant servant of His. And I would like to go through a little bit of a series, and since you've invited me to do some of these talks every month, I thought we might explore a little bit deeper the life of Jesus and how we compare to that, how we are reacting in the same circumstances that Jesus was challenged with, and how we measure up and what we learn from his life as to what we are facing every day. And this week, I thought we'll talk about how we take things personally and how he took things when he was offended. And let's just see how he compares. At this time in history, I think we need to fix our eyes more and more upon Jesus to understand deeper how he lived and what he came to do for us, because he came to give us a new life out of which we can live by faith, and which we can take and replace our own life with. But sometimes our sinful nature still takes over, and I want to explore that a little bit and see how Jesus thought, how Jesus took decisions in his heart, and what determined those decisions, and what determined the decisions that we make when we are faced with problems in life. Because problems come all the time. We are faced with various challenges, and I also was very impressed because I personally have gone through some challenging times in the past couple of weeks, and the Lord just showed me constantly my heart, how deceitful my heart is. So let's commence and move along. For some reason, my PowerPoint doesn't want to move. Okay. So let's see how Jesus was treated by his own people, his own family, his friends, even the disciples, and those who have listened to him day by day and have been touched by his healing hands. And we are told in Matthew 8:34, this is the story of the demoniac from Gadara. And after Jesus heals him and restores his spirit, the people of the city, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coasts. So they literally kicked him out. And the scribes, another scenario, the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, he hath Beelzebub, and by the prince of the devils casteth he out devils. Mark 3:22. Luke 15:2 says, and the Pharisees and scribes murmured, saying, this man receiveth sinners and eateth with them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him. John 12:37. Luke 4:28 and 29. This is when Jesus comes into the synagogue and he reads from Isaiah. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath and rose up and thrust him out of the city and led him onto the brow of the hill whereon the city was built. Then they might cast him down headlong. So they wanted to get rid of him, push him over. And the ultimate thing, how they plaited a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." Matthew 27:29. So Jesus really was not treated nicely. He was rejected, kicked out of the city, called the devil. He was called a sinner because he associated with the ordinary people. They called him a glutton and a drunkard. They did not believe him and they did not understand him, pushed him around and hunted him to kill him. They mocked him and tortured him. So Christ was really not treated well when he was on this earth. But let's look at ourselves. Have you ever experienced being spoken bad words by your parents and or your loved ones, like your spouse or your children or your friends, and always being put down and called names by your parents or loved ones? And I'd like to cover the whole population because you may have not experienced these things, but have you heard bad words and bad treatment from others towards you? Maybe not from your parents, but other people. And at the same time, your parents may have spoken to you good words and shown you love and encouragement and affirmation, assuring you that they were completely happy with you. Or maybe you've heard others being put down and mistreated, called names and verbally abused, but not you yourself, because you were always treated nicely and your parents have spoken words of love, encouragement, and affirmation to you. However, you may have seen others being mistreated. So we all have had this experience at one point or another, right? Have you heard the saying that says sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Yeah, maybe not quite true as well, because there is another saying which says sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will break my heart. So which experience did you have? Maybe you all had both experiences. And, you know, when the certain words come and you don't make them your own, and you don't take them in, they may not hurt you. But at the same time, if good words are said and you don't take them in, you will not benefit from their blessings either. So how do we react to all the negative and also the blessing words in our lives? Have we ever thought about it? So going back to this treatment, you may have been called names, you may have been taken advantage of in the past, misunderstood, cheated, called a liar, pushed around and bullied, talked about behind your back. So how did you feel? How did these circumstances make you feel? Were you hurt? Were you angry? Were you rejected? Sad for what was happening to you? Did you feel like a victim of others, lost and alone, and even sick? So we always need to look at the law that God has put in nature, the law that God has put into the universe. And that law is the law of cause and effect that is behind absolutely everything around us, even in our lives. But we don't always acknowledge it, and we don't always give it the right importance, the right priority to actually even use it when we read scripture, when we're facing situations like these ones. And unfortunately, the law of cause and effect is very much shown to us in the Bible. And if we look at Matthew 7, I've got a Bible here. If you want to open your Bibles to Matthew 7 and verse 16, it says, "Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit." A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. And this really is in the context of the false prophets. But we ought to actually apply this to absolutely everything, to even our own lives. Can a cherry tree bring forth apples, or can it bring forth manganiel tree fruit? I actually did a bit of a research and found that the manganiel tree is the most poisonous tree in the whole on the whole planet. Apparently, even if you sit underneath this tree and it rains and that water comes onto your face, you will blow up, your face will puff up. And if you eat the fruit, you will definitely die. And even when it's burnt, apparently the fumes of this tree can make you extremely sick. So if I am a cherry tree, can I yield manganiel fruit? Or if I'm a manganiel tree, can I yield sweet cherries? The law says no, you cannot, because by the fruit you will know what kind of tree that is. And where is the kind of tree? Where does that kind, that species, come from? Does it come from the fruit itself? Does it come from the leaves, from the branches? Or we have looked at this in the past and we could see and we established that it is from the root. So the root is the one that will grow the trunk and the branches and the leaves and the fruit. The root will determine what kind of tree it is, whether it's a cherry tree or a manganiel tree or an apple tree or a pear tree or whatever it may be. So each tree with its kind, and it is impossible to expect different fruit from a given tree. Like the pear tree can't give you cherries and the manganiel tree can't give you apples. It'll only give you what the root stock will produce and push up into its branches and its fruit. So the cause here will always be the root, and the effect will be the branches and the fruit of the trees. Yeah. So I think we're pretty clear on that. And this is very much more shown in the Bible through these verses, where we are told where the root of the human being is. And as I go through these verses, you will see the common factor here. And the root is the heart. And it says, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Matthew 12:34. And Luke 6:45 says, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good. And an evil man out of the treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. And one of my favorite texts in Proverbs 4:23 says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So let's go back to our examples previously. Why did we really experience those feelings? What was the reason for which we felt hurt and upset and angry? Was it because there's a deceit in our hearts that these things are directed towards us? So I'd like to give you an example, an earthly example, and an example of evil deeds, actually. I hope you remember, and I trust that you remember the days when planes were hijacked. And those hijackers would hijack a plane, but I am convinced, 100% convinced, that they were not angry or upset with the people on the plane. They were not trying to hurt those people on the plane, even though they were hurting them. But the real people that they wanted to hurt were the governments of those people. They wanted either some kind of money or some kind of release of prisoners, of whatever they were trying to obtain from the government. So it was never the attack upon those poor people that were being tortured and killed, maybe in some instances, but it was more directed towards the governments to determine them. So in the same way, Satan attacks God's children. And when I'm saying God's children, I'm not saying only Adventist people. This is God's children, humanity in general. God attacks us. Satan attacks us to get to God, to hurt God. And unfortunately, our hearts deceive us and we don't understand this. And because our hearts contain the identity, this is where the problem is, because when that identity is in the lie that I am God, all things will be directed towards me and I will become the victim. But when the identity is correct and I understand that I am a child of God, all things will be directed towards my Creator and not me. And then I am very able to withstand whatever is sent my way. I am able to be joyful even when people call me names. I am able to be joyful even when people torture me. I am able to be joyful even because I am suffering on Christ's account. I am suffering for my Creator. And, you know, none of us want to say that I am God. None of us will consciously realize that our identity is wrong. but our fruit will prove that. Our fruit will show that deep down in that heart, there is something that, you know, on the conscious level eventually comes out as being a victim, as being God, and therefore I am taking all this because it's directed to me. Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Matthew 25:40. And this applies to good things that you do and to bad things that we do, and good things that we don't do and bad things that we don't do. So it's everything. Everything is done to our Creator when we really know that we are a child of God and we live like a child of God. So this diagram you might have seen before, but I thought it's a good one to repeat and to show again. So the heart, the decisions of the heart are two, right? Can you remember which ones? So the gain, and we always say yes to gain. I am showing this the human heart. This is not Christ's heart. This is not the heart that is transformed by Christ. This heart is the natural heart. It's the sinful nature heart. And we also have the loss or the no. We will always say no to loss. The only this is all fine. This is how God designed us and created us. The problem here lies as to what we understand is a gain and what we understand is a loss, because that's where the deceit comes in. That's where Satan alters our understanding of the truth. And human love will give in order to receive. This is shown quite clearly in Romans 8:7. And the giving will be always based on what my investment is in order to receive back. I will always give less than what I expect to receive, okay? So I'll give more when I receive more, and the gain is bigger when I receive more, and the gain is less when I receive just enough. So I will always give up, receive enough or receive more, because the gain is greater. And it's a lesser loss when I receive less, and it's a greater loss to me when I receive nothing. And then it's an immense loss. It's a personal loss when I lose my treasure. And we talked about the treasure in the past, and I'm not going to go there today. But this whole scenario is under this identity of I am God. Because when I am God, I give to receive, I need to receive more, and I cannot lose. And then I am terribly tried and even become sick when my loss is complete, because that's a huge loss. Under this, I will become the slave to others, because I have to give to them to receive. If I don't give, I don't receive, I will die because I'm losing everything. So I need to keep people happy, and I need to keep myself happy. So I'll become a slave to others. In this heart, in this identity, everything is mine. And I have, and I can, and I am. And I possess that. That is selfishness. I produce and I own, and that is my pride. And the devil lives like this. Okay? And we, in the sinful nature, we all live like this because we have no other way. We do not know any other thing, just selfishness. When we're born again, this starts to change, and the identity will start to change from I am God to I am a child of God. But let's move on. So is it true that we all have a need? And what is a need? Let's give the definition of a need. A need is something you must have to survive, but which you cannot produce. So like air, so like water, like food. And on a spiritual level, what is that primary need that we have that we cannot produce? Do we need love? Definitely we need love. And all of those scenarios that I presented at the start, they are talking about love. They're talking about a lack of love, because we, in that heart, we will be looking for love to be received from others. And when they take us down, when they are abusing us, when others are talking to us in the wrong tone, in the wrong words, then we are not getting this. Okay. So can we produce love? No, we cannot produce love. And is this a problem that everybody has? Definitely everybody's problem is this, that we need love and we cannot produce love. And because I can't produce love, my children can't produce love, my parents can't produce love, my husband, my spouse can't produce love. So I need to be very clear about this. So what kind of love do we all need? Do we need a complete love, or do we need an incomplete love? Do we need an eternal love or a temporary one? Do we need unselfish love or selfish love? Do we need a personal love or impersonal love? And I think we all can agree that we really need this lot here. And we don't want to have anything to do with this, even though every day we are faced with some of this. And none of this can be produced by us, none of it. We might be able to show that we are personal and that we are unselfish, but is our love eternal? No. Is our love complete? Maybe at times, but not all the time. So all of us will fall into this category, unfortunately. But is it possible that everyone believes lies? That I need love from another person? I think we all have gone through that. And the second problem is that others need to meet my needs. They must meet my needs. And these are some scenarios under each of these. They have to thank me for whatever I do for them. I expect that. They have to respect me and my belongings. They have to listen when I talk, and so on, so on. The wife or the husband has to do what I lovingly ask them. The children owe me because I've sacrificed for them. My parents never met my needs. So these are all things that we have said at one point or another. And, you know, we thought they are just the right thing to say or to think. So what is man's smorgasbord of love? If you imagine, you know, a buffet lunch where there is love, what kind of smorgasbord could we offer? And I'd like to suggest that these are the things that we offer in the way we love. And I personally don't want to be part of this smorgasbord. I used to, definitely I used to, but I don't want to be there anymore. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. Jeremiah 17:5. It's a sad picture. It's a very sad picture, and we don't want to be there, I hope. So how did Jesus deal with all those attacks that he had to face throughout his ministry? And I'd like to suggest that he never, ever took anything personally. Never. He never felt sorry for himself. He never looked out for his gain. He never trusted man. And he knew who he trusted. And I was amazed by this text, because it's exactly what we are faced with and what Jesus never did. He never took the admiration of people. He never trusted that, and he never trusted them in situations of crisis either. And it says, now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover in the feast day, many believed in his name when they saw the miracles which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself unto them, because he knew all men, and needed not that any man should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. So that's an amazing text that we ought to remember. Did Jesus have needs? Of course he had needs. He did have a need for love, because he was a man, fully man, just as you and I. Did he understand he could not produce love as a man? Yes, he completely lived out of his Father. So he went and took love from his Father. Jesus had the right identity in his heart. I can of my own self do nothing, he said. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which hath sent me. John 5:30. In the heart of Christ, where reigned perfect harmony with God, there was perfect peace. He was never related by applause, nor dejected by censure or disappointment. Amid the greatest opposition and the most cruel treatment, he was still of good courage. Desire of Ages, page 330, paragraph 3. So let's look at the heart of Jesus. How does that compare to our hearts? So still the decisions in that heart would be yes for gain and no for loss. But divine love will take in order to give. And it takes from the Father in order to give to others. So the taking is the cause and the giving is the effect. Romans 8:14. You can look up these texts in your own time. So divine love is not driven by investment. Divine love is a gift that is given freely by God, and we can take it and give it constantly. And in the heart of Christ, you will gain more as you give more, and you will gain less as you give less. And to lose is to keep some or all for myself. So when I keep for myself, I'm losing. So I will always say no to keeping, and I will always say yes to giving. Can you see how Satan reversed this? Satan reversed this completely in our hearts, in our sinful hearts. So it's amazing how over and over it comes out that he twists truth, puts it upside down, and reverse from backwards to the front. So Christ really and truly understood that his identity was, I am a child of God. On this earth, I am talking about his life on this earth as our Savior. So in this identity, I am completely free. I will not be the prisoner of others. No matter what happens to me physically, I might be beaten up, I might be in chains, yet my spirit is free because I know I am connected to divine love. I know that I take from my God, and I am continuously giving to those around me. So for me to give more is a greater gain. Therefore, nothing is mine. I don't possess anything. I can't produce, and I'm not my own. Not even my body is my own. I am God's. I am my Creator's, and I want to do his will. I want to take that life, that love that he gives constantly and continuously, and be filled so that I can give. What is God's smorgasbord of love? And this is what God's smorgasbord of love is. Isn't it wonderful to have this constantly, continuously, without ending? This is always available. It's always plentiful. It's a source that never ends. It's the true source. It's not a broken cistern full of selfishness, but rather full of self-denial and sacrifice, freedom, justice, grace, mercy, truth, life, safety. No matter how unsafe my circumstances may seem, but I know that I'm safe in the hands of God. And that gives a lot of freedom. And I can come here and take and take and give and take and run back and take more and give every day to those around me. It never ends, it never finishes. Because Jesus said to the woman at the well, come, and the fountain, the water that I give you will become a fountain in you, and you will never thirst again. So this is our only hope, to come and take love from God and pass it on. When we do that, and when we understand that nothing that is done to us is actually done to us, but it's done to the Creator, we truly can live liberated lives, and nothing will touch us, absolutely nothing. The Lord have appeared of old unto me, saying, yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love, therefore with loving kindness have I drawn thee. Jeremiah 31:3. So where are you going to eat from? Which smorgasbord are you going to eat from? I would like to invite you to eat from this one, which is God's, which gives you freedom, which gives you liberty, which gives you trust. All these things are good fruit. They are not the cause. God is the cause, and these are the effects of that cause. The heart, the identity of I am a child of God is the cause. And the fruit, when I am in the right identity, will be these kind of fruit and not these kind of fruit. But when I am in the wrong identity and I think I am God, I will be exhibiting these kind of fruit. And I think, as I said at the start, at this late time in history, we don't want to be here. We want to come out. We want to exhibit these fruit. We want to change the heart. And how can we change the heart? We cannot do it by ourselves. but only by surrendering the will to our Father and by taking his love every day. Remember, his love is a need, is a primary need that we have for life, for sustaining our lives. So we need God's love. And the biggest need we have is to pass that love on, to give it and never hold it for ourselves, because we explode. If we take and take and take, eventually something will break. We have to give it. We have to pass it on. And this smorgasbord takes, image in everything that we do, in everything that we have, in our properties, in our homes, in our cars, in our clothes, in our food. When we are driven by this, it has repercussions all throughout our lives, absolutely in the smallest, minutest details of our lives. And I love this quote from Thoughts from the Mount of Blessings, chapter 15, page 15 rather, paragraph 2 says, "The Saviour's life on earth, though lived in the midst of conflict, was a life of peace. While angry enemies were constantly pursuing him, he said, 'He that sent me is with me. The Father hath not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him.' John 8:29. No storm of human or satanic wrath could disturb the calm of that perfect communion with God. And he says to us, 'Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest.' John 14:27, Matthew 11:29. Bear with me the yoke of service for the glory of God and the uplifting of humanity, and you will find the yoke easy and the burden light." So this is my presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, it's hi.